Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, it's top of the hour. As we promised you, we were going live. As you can tell by our names, this is not a traditional podcast tonight. Um, as the title said, and a lot of you have already texted me asking me, what does this mean? This one's for Big Al. Well, this is on us as being young podcasters and just getting a little bit too involved in the wrestlers instead of bringing on friends. We had a Special Olympics athlete who asked to come on our podcast and has never gotten to come on the show. However, this morning, he lost his battle with cancer. Take it, Nate.
So, as Tony said, he lost his battle with cancer. Again, as he said, he wanted to be on this podcast from the beginning. For those of you who have watched the podcast for a long time, we started doing Special Olympics spotlights. Mike, you were one of the people that we spotlighted at one point. Alan always wanted to do that. He would come up to me at the leadership meetings and ask me, can I be on your podcast? And I told him, yeah, we'll get you on there, buddy. Don't worry about it. And as Tony said, you get busy, right? Life happens. We got busy with the promotion. We got busy booking wrestlers. That's not an excuse, but it's what happened. And then Al got sick. But I've been thinking about what I was going to say before I let the rest of the people talk about Al, because honestly, between the four people that are on here, I was the one that knew him the least, for the least amount of time. But you always talk about in wrestling about people that are fighters. Al was one of the toughest fighters I'd ever met, because regardless of what he was going through with that cancer, he never complained. He didn't say, poor me. He didn't say, I'm not feeling well. He didn't say, guys, come sit with me. Guys, come do this. It was always, what can I do to help you? And Pat, you can get to this later, but he did flag football or whatever, sport he was doing. He was always the one that was right up front, that was encouraging the people to keep going, that was encouraging the Special Olympics athletes, which he loved more than anything. In the short time that I knew him, you could see that. He bled Special Olympics. The one funny story before I let everybody else do this, because otherwise I might break down if I don't tell the story now. Every year, Special Olympics sells Krispy Kreme donuts as one of our main fundraisers. Now, most of us on this podcast have done some kind of cashiering or sales work in our lifetime. And we're all taught to be passionate salesmen because you want to make that sale. Yeah. This was a fundraiser. If you got the money, that was great. If you didn't, no harm, no foul. Al didn't take that. Al, from the minute he saw you at a Walmart, if we were selling Krispy Kreme, if we were selling Krispy Kreme donuts, would ask the people if they wanted it. If the people said no, most people would back away and say, that's fine. If you don't want the Krispy Kreme donuts, we'll move on to the next person. Al was like a tiger with those people. Al would follow those people to their car or wait for them to come back out of the store if they went into the store and ask them again with a little more aggression in his voice, to the point where the people would give him money. And I love you, brother, but they would give you money just to make you shut up. We should all have in our little pinky, and I'm going to steal one from Dusty Rhodes, but right now I don't care. We should have half of the intensity and the passion in our little pinky that Al had in his whole body.
Now, all right. Again, guys, I apologize for leaving, but hey, it's one of those things. But let me get back to what we were originally going to start with. Okay, so Big Al was a sports fan through and through. He played every sport in Special Olympics: bowling, football, basketball, soccer, softball, you name it, Al did it. He wasn't afraid to try a new sport. He wasn't afraid to come out and help at sports that he was not doing. He came to a volleyball practice one time and loved it. Guys, he even went to a cheerleading practice once. I don't know if the three of you guys knew that or not, but yeah, he actually went to a cheerleading practice once. But we'll all get into more stories of Al here in a minute. I want to come on as one of the founding members of Inclusion Pro Wrestling. You see, because along with the four of us on this screen, Al was a wrestling fan.
Yep.
And that was another thing that Big Al was supposed to come to. He was supposed to come to our cancer show earlier this year, and he had gotten really bad sick again and couldn't attend that show.
Yeah.
So, on behalf of our part on inclusion, the November show, the Cowlitz River Rumble, from here on out, is now known as the Alan Abel Memorial Battle Royal. And yes, everybody, the winner still gets a chance for the Cowlitz County Championship, but Al's favorite wrestling pay-per-view was the Royal Rumble. So there you go, man. You've got our November show forever in your name.
Yep.
Also, that leads us into our Nick show, August 3rd on Bunker Hill Road. Yeah, Al, you thought you were going to get away from us, didn't you? You thought you were going to get away with us from us until November, didn't you? Oh,
Hell
no.
no.
Oh,
Hell
no. Oh, no.
No.
Not with this group. No.
Can I make
At the very beginning, because it's all about Special Olympics, and I can make this decision because we are inclusion. Yes, Mr. Alan Abel may not have been a professional wrestler. Yes, Mr. Alan Abel may not have been a manager, a timekeeper, or anything to do in the professional wrestling world. But he was a wrestling fan. And Inclusion Pro Wrestling is all about making firsts. So, ladies and gentlemen, to start off the show, and I want to go out to all my Special Olympics athletes out there. So any of you guys that know any athletes, please have them come to August 3rd show. Because at the very beginning, our Special Olympics athletes will be leading the Inclusion Pro Wrestling staff and talent to the ring for a very, very, very special 10-bell salute. Again, it's unheard of for a fan, but again, this is inclusion. we're all about the firsts. So, with that being said, that's pretty much it for the inclusion portion of this podcast. And this will not be wrestling talk tonight. No. This will be stories of Big Al. So, I know Mike has experienced this. I know Pat's experienced this. And God, I know I've experienced this. I don't know if Nathan's ever had the honor of experiencing this next story that I'm gonna share. But if you did, welcome to the club. If you didn't, you're really lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Every practice or every competition, when Al got done with practice, he'd come up with that infectious laugh of his that you could hear for miles.
Yep.
And that big booming voice of his. And give you that sweaty, stinky, passionate Al hug.
Oh God.
And I know, like I said, I know 3 of us have experienced those. I'm not sure if Mr. Nas has experienced that or not, but
If he hasn't, he's lucky.
but
Actually, I did. It wasn't at a sporting event.
Then welcome to the club, buddy.
It wasn't at a sporting event. It was, for those of you who don't know, 3 of us on this podcast are part of the Athlete Leadership Council for the Special Olympics.
and Mikey was before too, so he's a past member.
Okay, yeah, and Mikey's a past member. At Al's last ALC meeting, before his cancer got to the point where he couldn't attend anymore, we all, and you guys were, Tony and Pat, you guys remember this. We all walked up and gave him a hug, like in a line, to wish him luck, fighting the cancer, which he did for a very long time. That man, I have a messed up spine. I have scoliosis really bad. That man gave me such a tight hug, I think he almost straightened my spine. That goes back to what I said before. That man's passion, and regardless of what he did, just oozed through him. So yes,
Yeah.
I have experienced that hug, and I think my back's still a little bit better today because of it. So,
But yeah. so definitely gonna miss the stinky, sweaty hugs. Definitely gonna miss his infectious laugh. I wished I had those sunglasses because I would have wore them tonight, but I don't. Mr. Al, though, the Cowlitz River Rumble is now the Allen Abel Rumble. I can't believe that, but you know what? It's well deserved. Another story of Al, man. He was inherited, and I'll let Pat get into a little bit of the story, but he was inherited the team captain of the upper basketball teams and the upper soccer teams and even the upper softball teams. Now, in Special Olympic standards, you are given that honor normally by the coach. But Allen got it from his players and from the past captains of those teams. It wasn't a coach's decision for Al. It was a team decision because he was just that damn good. there's so much more to say, and I wish I could get other people on here that knew him, but we just kind of did a impromptu podcast tonight. And also, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening and you are a Special Olympics athlete, please, the family respects privacy at this time. Don't bombard them. Don't text them. Don't email them. Let them grieve in their own way. And we will keep you guys informed on memorials, tributes, and services. But for the most part right now, let him grieve. And this is the best way that Nathan and Pat and myself and Mr. Munger know how to grieve. And that is bringing it out here and sharing it with you guys. So Nathan and I normally do a lot of the talking, but like Nathan said, he was the one that knew him the least. I just got to experience coaching the man and get involved in those nasty, sweaty, after practice, after competition hugs. But I'm going to open the floor up to the two gentlemen on the bottom of the screen that actually got to be a part of his competitions and his life on an everyday level. So this is me signing off the podcast, not for good, not forever, but for the rest of the night. You won't hear a peep unless we have to close the show. And I'm hoping Mr. Noss is the same way. So you guys knew him the best. This is your guys' grievance. This is your guys' podcast. And remember, it is for Big Al. It's not about you guys. So take it away.
Go ahead, Pat.
So I got to spend more time with Alan than Nate and Mike. Especially when we went to state competitions, me and Alan would share the room, and I kid you not, anyone who would have walked into that room would have to come in with a gas mask. Because if it wasn't Alan, it was me. But there was one thing that Alan made me laugh about, and that was coming to practice. And guys, I am about to do it. It's not the correct hat he would wear, but it's close. So here it is to you, Alan. He will always come to practice with a cowboy hat on, cowboy boots, jeans, and he would strip down to his training shorts to practice. And whether you were in a bad mood or anything like that, he knew how to cheer you up. And it was an honor for me to pass my portion of the torch to him. Because he well deserved it. When I stepped down from Team 1 basketball as co-captain, I passed that off to him. And he ran with it, and I was very proud of him. I'm sorry, guys.
Don't they have to be outside the podium?
Go ahead, Mikey.
God. God, Pat's right. Right before I retired, my last soccer prep, everything he said was true. That smile, that hug, it was so infectious. It made me smile when having a bad day at practice. It was like seeing him after practice, him at bowling this last year after he fought it, and I'm glad he was there for God. It felt like a family member was back for all that season. It was good to see him. I hugged him. I'm like, I miss you, my friend. And I was on the same lane with him, and he still helped me. Me and him were laughing, joking. It was like the Alan I knew. And today, when the news broke, it felt like someone ripped out my heart. It, it's like I don't have one of my best friends anymore. It's,
All right. As you can tell,
it's
this is an emotional podcast for all of us. So, Mikey, if you need to take a minute and compose yourself, you can. We got you.
So, Pat, let me ask you a question, because
Yeah.
I never got to compete with Al in any sports, except for bowling. But let's be fair, I'm all the way off in the corner, and he was halfway down, but you could still hear him when he got excited when he got a strike. What was he like as in football or soccer if he was doing like the player coach?
Okay, so in soccer, Alan knew the game very well, and even when I was the goalie, he knew the game, and I know that every time I got in trouble, he was back there protecting his goalie, and
sorry, guys.
No, you're good, Michael. And then in softball, his favorite position was shortstop. He loved that position. And boy, did he. I mean, he literally had an arm on him. That's why I loved playing first base. And so he was a very aggressive defensive player. On top of a really amazing hitter. And yes, there's a select few on the upper team for softball that can hit over the fence, and he was one of them. I think during one practice at softball, he hit like maybe 7 or 8 over the fence. He was consistent on that. And then in flag football, he knew how to break away from a rusher. Every time he knew he could do it. He had that skill set, and that's what made him unique. And I was proud to call him one of my brothers.
Well,
and then basketball, I don't know how many times he shut me down in practice. I mean, there's not a lot of athletes that can shut me down, but he was one of them. Even when I know there was one time he and I collided, and neither one of us fell. All we did is when we collided, we basically went into a hug. And I flat, and these are my exact words I said to him. I go, I am damn proud to be your brother and part of this team, and you're going to go a long way. And at competitions, he knew how to shut people down. He
Yeah,
was
he
really
did.
good at it. He didn't care how big you were. He was there. And every time we were down points, all of a sudden, you see him hitting a 3-point shot. Every time. Every single time we had the ball, he would hit a 3-point shot just to make sure that we would win. Now, we may not win most of the games, but then he was there. And he made it fun. It was a blast.
So let me ask Mikey a question, because you brought something up before we went live. You said that you bowled with him a lot when you guys did bowling, right? You got a story for us bowling on the same lane as him? Because if he's that competitive and everything else, he had to have some kind of like side wager with you. Like,
Yeah, him and bowling. Oh my god. Right before regionals this last season, see him before all this, see him getting ready for regionals. That man was a beast. And I'm like, holy cow. After I got done, I would go over there and see how he's doing. And I was like, I looked up the monitor for the scores, and I'm like, holy cow. It's like, I'm happy. I'm like, I was like, damn, only if I can be that good. And he's like, give it your best shot. You can do it. So it's like I said, this season for bowling, when I go, I'm doing it for him because he was one of my friends, my family, our family, and I'm doing it for him. My goal this year is to actually make it to state for him one time and come back as a state champion bowling for him.
and
That
Tony can vouch for this, and so can Pat. I didn't know him that long, but the one thing that made me go wow from him, other than the stuff that we've already talked about, we've talked about the fact that he was meticulous in like wanting to win and wanting to be competitive and wanting to encourage people. But the other thing that people might not know about Al was if he had notes to take for anything,
oh my
that
god.
man would meticulously take notes. And I'm not talking like maybe miss a word here or there. It was like the man was a human computer. If somebody said something, he would write it down in the little book that he would always carry with him to the state competitions or whatever competition he went to. That's how much he didn't want to miss any of the experience that he had with Special Olympics.
You know, there's another story I want to share real quick. A lot of our athletes know that, you know, when you have an individual sport or a team sport and you go to state, you have to choose your team sport. This winter, actually, no, it was this fall because it was Al's last season was the fall season this year. He was awarded a gold medal in bowling which is what he went to state for. But then on Sunday, he still played with his football team and won the gold medal with his football team as well. So that man not only won a gold medal in bowling that weekend, he was lucky enough to win a gold medal in flag football that weekend as well. And I'm going to go ahead and just put it on record now that this man has a legacy. And Team One, I hope you plan on honoring this legacy for as long as you are still a team together. You are now 7 years. Actually, no, you lost one. So, but
No,
you
you're
are
right, Tony. Tony, you're right. It's 7 years and 1 loss.
7 years with 1 loss, state champions. Let that sink in.
And you know what? With the motivation you guys have now, I have no doubt you guys are going to make it 8.
Well, we can't claim the undefeated streak anymore.
No, but
No.
you
Because of
still
that
get
one loss.
the 8
However,
state championships.
actually, I have to make a correction on that. 7 years undefeated with 1 loss, but Team 1 is 8 years state champs.
Okay, then you can go for 9.
Yes.
Yep.
And Team 2 can go for 2.
But there's a lot that this man had taught everybody in Special Olympics. And, another story now since the girls of the house are home. Big Al wasn't just he wasn't just a hugger of the guys. Oh, no. This man was an equal opportunity hugger. If you were in his way, you were getting a
He
sweaty
the
hug.
Yep.
You were getting a sweaty hug. Man,
That-
woman, child, it did not matter. You were getting a sweaty hug from Al.
That reminds me of another story of Alan with that same scenario. After practice, it would be Justin's mom. He would literally run up and hug her, where she would cringe and say, "Ew, ew, get away, get away."
Yep.
And then
But,
all of a sudden, you had right behind Alan, you had Bubba, you had me, you had Stanley, you had everyone else just following suit behind him. He was a great leader.
he was.
Alan
So,
was the game
again-
leader of that huddle train.
Yep, he was.
Yes, he was. So again, if you're just joining us late, this is not an actual podcast. This is probably something you'll only see a few times a year with us. As you can tell, none of us are in our character names tonight. We are shooting to you straight. I just want to go on here for a few more minutes and just talk about a little bit of everything. I know, again, we are inclusion. We live it every day. Or the 3 of you gentlemen live it every day. Okay? With that being said, Alan meant so much to everybody that yes, we are a young promotion. Yes, we've made mistakes. Yes, we've overcame some of those mistakes. Yes, we can overcome the rest of the mistakes. But just remember what's gotten us all here. That's friendship, family, love, and support of one another. And unfortunately, it took a man passing away for me to realize that. So, with that being said, again, everybody out there, he was a great guy. It sucks he never got to come on here and share his infectious smile with everybody on this podcast, because I think everybody in this podcast would have fallen in love with Mr. Allen. Again, just to touch base, our November Cowlitz River Rumble is now renamed the Alan Abel Memorial Battle Royal. Winner still gets a shot at the number 1 contendership for the Cowlitz River title, but we just wanted to change the name in honor of Al. He is going to get a special 10-bell salute at the August 3rd show. And there might be some very special guests of his that get to come to that show as well, besides the Special Olympics family, of course. But we will have to wait and see what I can do with that. And there may be a few other surprises that we will divulge on upcoming podcasts. But this is so hard to do as me and not in character, you know that?
Yeah.
But I think Al would love this. So switching back into heartbreaker mode, just 1 second. The man underneath me, Mr. Mike, you smile, but you're a toothless freaking wonder. I don't know what Alan's seen in you, but yet you were one of his best friends, one of his biggest confidants, and a man I think can carry on his legacy.
Knowing Alan like I do.
I wasn't done.
Okay.
No.
But your smile and your black hole will never change. Now you can speak.
Knowing Alan, how I know Alan, he was a great friend. I have talked to him. Like I said, he was an all-around hitter, confidant, great personality, everything. And I am going to miss him 120%. But when August 3rd hits, I am going to be looking up and saying, this is for you, buddy.
Thank you for those kind words. Now, to the man right beside him. Yes, the goofy looking guy who looks like he's falling asleep on the podcast when he should be paying tribute to the man who I think's a better leader of that basketball team than he ever was.
He did
I'm
lead that
done.
team good. And I was proud to pass the torch to him.
You were proud? He took it
I was
from
proud.
you, dude. He took it from you, dude.
I stepped down because I couldn't go anymore on that team. And I was proud to hand it off to him. But there was one other man that had to pass his half of the torch to him.
And Mr. Nathan, you think you're going to get off scot-free.
Oh, no, I didn't.
You call him a friend, and you think you got as many sweaty, ugly hugs as the rest of us. Dude, you were sadly mistaken. he only felt sorry for you because you were in the chair. But he told me that you were one of the brightest individuals that he's ever met. You always had a fast-witted comment for his snide remarks. You always knew exactly what to say when he was down. And he purposely chose you last after me to give the hugs to, because you were the one that he respected the most on that leadership panel.
That what I didn't know all that because he wasn't the one that would tell you that until later. But the last thing I can say, and this is something that Al would want me to say, so I think the thing that we need to leave people with is cherish the time that you have with your loved ones and your friends. Because the time that you have that you think is going to last forever doesn't.
And one last little surprise that I'm going to throw into this August 3rd little show. And again, because it's inclusion and I can. And I don't think Mr. Nathan's going to argue the fact. So, with that being said, this is Inclusion Mania, Summer of Inclusion. Well, we're going to add something to that title. This is Inclusion Mania, Summer of Inclusion. And it's Alan's party.
Yep.
So please, everybody, buy your tickets. Special Olympics athletes, especially, buy your tickets because this is going to be a benefit show for you guys. Tell your Special Olympics friends in other towns and other, in other parts of Washington to come to this show because it's one that they're not going to want to forget.
And here's one little thing. After the show, we're having a barbecue. For anybody that wants to stay after that, yes, there'll be wrestlers there, but I guarantee you, for any of the Special Olympics athletes, because it's Alan's party, as Tony put it, and that's a great way to put that, that'd be another great place to share stories. As if Al was alive, he'd be right there eating the barbecue with us, taking a drink of something, and making everybody laugh. Trying to sit close to the barbecue so he can get sweatier to give everybody a hug, even if they were going to get chased around the property.
Oh, and it gets better. I hope my U.S. title people are listening. Because one of you two boys is going to get a brand new United States Championship. But it's not just any United States Championship. No. We're calling it the AA Inclusion United States Championship.
Yep. Because here's the thing. Pat, you had a cowboy hat that you put on. And if you still have it by you, put it back on your head if you would. Now, I'm going to ask everybody else that knew him. That was a pretty close likeness to the hat he wore, except for what was the one difference?
His was like straw.
Yep.
And he had one that was like the American flag.
Yep.
Yes, he did.
And there's been one thing that's been sitting on my heart, and I'm going to say it. And I was going to try to not say it because I might get a little bit over passionate when I say it. There's going to be some people that say when Tony brought up the 10 bell salute that doesn't happen for fans. That it shouldn't happen for fans. You know what? We're inclusion. And there is not one person. People say this is my dream. And yes, it was my dream to do the wrestling stuff. But there was not one person that embodied inclusion more in this area than Alan.
And there's one thing Alan said while he was in the hospital on that video that still touches me today. Please find Jesus, because life is short, and get baptized.
And I'm going to take it one step further, just because it probably needs to be said. Not only find Jesus and time is too short and get baptized, but y'all, if you have a spat against a loved one, a friend, a former friend, a bitter enemy now, bury the damn hatchet. Grow from it, learn from it, because you never know when you might need that person back in your life. And I'm not just talking to the four of us, I'm talking to everybody out there. Everybody that might hear this podcast at a later time. Life is too short to have bitter grudges. Life is too short to have bitter hatred towards people. Yeah, we say we hate people. Yeah, we say things, but those are just words. Those words can easily be erased. Truly, if you want to go out and make a difference and you feel like you've wronged a person, or they feel like you've wronged them, go out. Even if you can't go out and make it right, try to go out and make it right. Because you know what? Alan sure the hell would have.
And before we leave the night, if anybody has a water bottle or any kind of cup with them, I want to do this to him for Alan. This one's for you, bud. We will miss you.
Yep.
So we've still got viewers on after all of us have fumbled and bumbled and boo-hooed and cried and but again, everybody, sorry it wasn't our typical bashing of each other, going back and forth, endless banter bullshit. We couldn't do that tonight. Yes, I started poking at everybody, but it was in fun because that's what Al would have done. And there's not a person on this panel that would not have agreed with that.
Oh no, he would have found a way to take a shot at us.
Oh yeah, you would have. Especially me and you, Pat, during basketball.
Oh yeah.
And if you guys actually noticed it, yes, I started out being Heartbreaker, but I turned it into a roast.
Yep.
For each and every one of them.
And one of Alan's favorite saying when we would run, and when I would make a funny comment to him, he would pop up and say, and that's what she said.
Oh yeah.
That was Alan's favorite saying.
Yeah, Alan did that to me during bowling this last season. It's like, that's what she said. I'm like, oh, thanks, Alan. And
that's kind of funny because that's kind of what Nathan does at the Frontier.
All the time.
Oh!
It's going to get even worse now because I got a partner doing it with me now.
So
and look who rubbed off on Nathan. Alan,
So
I thank you very much for making Nathan a bad influence.
Brother, there's gonna be a lot of AIDS here that are gonna hate both of us by the time we're done.
all
But
right. Well,
what made Alan? What Alan's bad influence was me and Bubba.
Oh God.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
I
like
think we
said,
had more of an impact on awful comments with Alan than me and Bubba. If it wasn't me, it was Bubba. If it wasn't Bubba, it was me. If it wasn't, or it was both of us at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I was familiar
All
with
right.
a few of those
So,
comments
for
too,
you-
Pat.
yeah, I remember back in the day before before Alan even started playing, there was a thing called a Pat and Bubba sandwich. Well, you got a Pat Bubba stink face combination with Alan.
Yep.
You got a 3-way hug.
And that one, I can remember Sherry getting a 3-way hug. I
Got me.
remember, yeah, Stanley.
For you two, you got almost everyone on the team.
Yep.
But, again, thank you everybody for listening to us rant for almost an hour about a very, very good friend of ours. And for anybody else that's out there in inclusion that knew him, even maybe more on a more personal level, just remember my phone's always on. Amber's phone's always on.
My phone's on.
My
You
phone's
guys can-
always on.
That person that I will not name knows who that person is and is always welcome to call or text one of us, because I know that person's going through a very hard time right now. But for the rest of you, hit up the Messiah, hit up Munger, hit up Pat, but don't hit me up unless you're going to pay up.
And
That's what she said.
I hate, just like Tony went into his heartbreaker, I gotta go into my principal mode here for one shot at one person. Bite me, Michelle.
I would
Really?
say that's what she said, but nobody would want to do that.
Thank you, Nate.
Oh, geez,
All
thanks,
right.
Nate.
So, again,
And I know that's something that Alan would busted up laughing if I would have done that with him around.
To the family, my prayers and well wishes, and I'll be praying for you guys tonight and every day from now on for you guys to heal up.
yeah, and some of his Special Olympics coaches said it best. Alan, we're gonna miss you, but I think we're gonna miss your infectious laugh the most, because man, that laugh you could hear for a mile. You knew Al was coming just by that laugh. And dude, you got obnoxious during opening ceremonies at state, clapping and laughing. But that's what made you you, and that's what made it fun. Donna, thank you for bringing Alan into Special Olympics and sharing him with us.
Yes.
He was a joy to get to know. He was a joy to watch on any sport that he played. It was an honor for me to get to coach him the few times that I got to coach him. And you will truly, truly be missed. As they said, one of the best is gone, but your legacy and your passion and your dedication will live on forever. So with that being said, we're about 5 minutes short of being an hour long. And rather than bore you guys
Love you, Alan.
with typical closing, we're not going to go into character mode. We're not going to go into a typical closing. So we're just going to say this. And maybe we can all do it as a group. And, maybe the other 3 knuckleheads or dummies, will actually catch on. Tonight, and tonight only, this podcast has been dedicated to a very, very special man, a true friend, a true brother. Big Al, again, sorry we couldn't get you on the podcast sooner, but we hope you enjoyed your podcast watching down on us from the heavens above. But in closing tonight, I think I want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to miss Al for your infectious laughs. And as much as I told you I hated him, your stinky hugs. Michael,
Oh
what
God!
are the 2 things you're going to miss?
I'm gonna miss him being that teammate that always pushing me every which way, even in softball. It was like, even though I'm on the team, it was like, you can do better than this. Show me.
Pat,
Alan, my brother, I'm gonna miss you the most. Especially when you played on that field alongside me. You and I and the rest of the team, we dominated for so many years in football. Now you get to do it up there in heaven.
Brother Messiah or Brother Nos.
I'm gonna miss your encouragement. I mean, hell, man, you gave me encouragement today with the stuff that Tony told me that I didn't know. And the last thing I'll tell you is, I'm gonna make you a promise. You like to do the "that's what she said" jokes. Like I said before, I got a partner now, so they gonna know what hit them now.
All right. So with that being said, hey, I'm the coach with the most, the man with the plan. I'm me. Thank you again to probably one of the ugliest men that I know and who really should shave and has a black hole as a smile. But for some reason, Alan loved you the most. Mike, thank you for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
Mr. Pat, I see you bobbing your head. Oh, no. You're next. Again, you say you gave him your spot. Dude, he took your spot 10 miles back and ran with it, and you're still trying to catch up.
And that's what she says.
Oh!
That didn't even fit, dude, but all right.
And Nathan, my brother. take what I told everybody tonight with a grain of salt. Take what I told everybody on this podcast tonight as you would. But remember what Alan had told you and what Alan had taught you. So, with that, I feel like a Kenny Omega entrance or exit would be very, very fitting here. So, if my co-host, Mr. Noss, does not mind, and my other co-host, Mr. Holt, does not mind, I would like to have Mikey do the exit tonight. Any objections? Hang on. Any
Nope.
objections? Go for
Nope.
it, Mikey.
We bid you adieu, good night, and bang.
All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you very, very soon. And Alan, we love you.
We love you, buddy.